All right, y'all. Before we dive in, a quick heads up.
This show is raw, real, and definitely not rated PG.
We're talking about adult themes, sexual content, and the kind of stuff you probably don't want blasting through your speakers at work or around your kids.
So grab some headphones, pour your drink of choice, and get comfy.
Oh, and just so we're clear, we are not licensed therapists, counselors, or sex couches. Sex coaches,
Sex coaches.
not sex couches.
We're just a couple of people sharing our lives experiences and sexy adventures and ethical non-monogamy. So with that, pull up a chair and enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Monogamy. I'm Adam.
And I'm Pris.
And today we've got someone truly special joining us all the way from the UK. She's a writer, educator, and advocate for ethical non-monogamy, open relationships, and living life on your own terms.
We're talking to the amazing Rosie K, the voice behind thiskindofgirl.co.uk, one of the UK's most honest and empowering lifestyle blogs. Rosie writes about everything from open love to sex positivity, confidence, and personal growth, all through the witty, smart, and very British lens we adore.
That's right. We've been following Rosie's work for a while now, and we love how she talks about non-monogamy, not as a trend, but as real human experiences. Messy, beautiful, emotional, and freeing all at once.
So grab your tea or your favorite toy, no judgment, because this is going to be a thoughtful, sexy, and inspiring conversation.
That's right. So welcome to the show, Rosie. We appreciate you coming.
Thank you very much for having me. I didn't realize that my writing had such a British spin on it, but I suppose it does.
It does.
Well, you know, when
just a little bit.
when we're not over there, that's all we know. But you know, we have been following you for some time. We love what what we've seen in all of the clips. We've read some of your blog. We really are
Thank you.
kind of fanning out here because it's really cool that you were able to join us, and technology has let this happen. You didn't even have to fly over here. So we appreciate that. Now, before we get started with all of this, if we could get the Cribs notes on just how you came to be, non-monogamous and how you came to reach this point.
Okay. So I've always been a bisexual woman. When I was a teenager, I had gay friends, both male and female, and I felt very kind of comfortable within that kind of like alternative space, if you like. And I kind of realized that I was bisexual. Maybe I was like 16 or 17. And so it's something which has always been part of me. And then when I started getting into relationships when I was older, it was something which it was always, I didn't want to have to choose between a monogamous relationship with a man or getting to be with a woman. I didn't want to cheat on a partner, but I didn't know how to kind of like express it. So it just kind of like sat with me. And then in my early 20s, I was in a relationship with a man and I said to him, look, I'm bisexual and but I don't want to cheat on you, but I don't know what I can do with this. Like how can I be me but also have you? And he was older than me. He was very much more sexually experienced than me. I just moved to London at this time, so I was like, in this big city, and he suggested, having a threesome, going to a swingers club. It was something he'd done before, and I kind of like that seemed to fit, but although this did provide an answer, I was absolutely terrified at the thought of going to a swingers club. And I remember I sat there on the bed, as so many of us have done, and went, I'd never go to a swingers club. I'd be far too jealous. I could never see with another woman.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had this desire in me to explore with women, to form my own kind, like explore my sexuality and see what that could be like for me. So although I would say I was 70% terrified, I was also, the remaining percent was curious. So that's how I kind of like came to my ethical non-monogamy journey kind of like started. And it's just kind of like grown from there. And since then, I've had the pleasure of being in many different type of relationship. I have been in open relationships where it wasn't open for me, it was open for my partner, and he was a bisexual guy, so he would go off and meet with couples and guys and stuff.
Yeah.
And I gave my consent. I've been in relationships with women. I've been in sub-dom relationships where I've been the dominant woman. Yeah, I've been in polyamorous relationships just because I wanted to see what it was like. So I've had a little taste of all these types,
You've
if you
had a
like.
relationship buffet.
I like
I
that.
I have. And it's been great. And I've also been a single woman in the lifestyle because again, that's a completely different experience to being, in a couple. So yeah, I feel very lucky about all these experiences I've had. And I mean, there's a lot of stigma attached to women who've had lots of relationships or lots of casual sex, but it's taught me so much
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
really opened my eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
bring
the
it
fun
on.
part. That's the fun part, right? That's the fun part. We got into the lifestyle for the same reasons. I'm bisexual, and so I was never in my culture, Latina, we're not my parents raised me, you don't date your same gender.
Hmm.
And it's not something that, it's very religious driven,
Old school
old
mentality of thinking.
mentality. So I kept that in for many years, got married to men. This is my third marriage. And
This one's gonna stick.
this one's
This
gonna
one's gonna
stick,
work.
and so, yeah, the lifestyle was letting me expand that and actually embrace my bisexuality. And I think that's the one fun part that I love and that I can connect with you on that. Like, that's exactly what's the
Mm.
fun part. We did poly, but
We did poly for 5 years, and that's kind of where our thinking kind of changes. I am more poly-oriented. I like the relationship aspect, the connection in that. Obviously, I love every sexual aspect of it, but that's a given for me.
Hmm.
But I also really like the relationship portion of it.
Hmm.
And that's where Pris really struggled, was being able to kind of let go and say, okay, it's okay,
Yeah.
that we do things separate from each other and that sort of thing. So, but she's come a long way as well, and she's always learning we're all learning new things really through our experiences. So it's a lot of fun. But this
Mm.
isn't about us. Stop
This
talking about us. Stop it. Rosie, I'm gonna just dive right in. Can you tell us about This Kind of Girl? What made you start writing so openly about non-monogamy and relationships?
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, the name This Kind of Girl, it came about because when we had COVID and it was the first wave of COVID and everything was locked down, my job at the time, my regular job, I worked in hospitality and we couldn't work from home because everything was shut down, all the restaurants. So I was at home and I was doing the online dating and kind of because I was recently single at that point and I was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to look online. And I remember talking to somebody and I was trying to describe the type of woman that I am, that I was bisexual, that I was a bit of a free spirit, not your average woman. And I said I was that kind of girl. And that's kind of stuck, that phrase stuck in my mind. I don't know what happened to the conversation, probably lost interest, but that stuck in my mind. And when I've been thinking about wanting to share my experience because I'd had all these experiences of being at the swinger clubs in London, and it's very much a kind of like an international crowd because you get so many people there, tourists on holidays and couples, and you can be anyone you want to be, have sex with anyone you want to. That's for me, that's the beauty of such a big city. And I'd had all these experiences. I'd not been able to talk to any of my friends about it. And it was all bubbling away inside me. And I wanted an outlet for that. And also, I thought back to when I first started in the lifestyle, I was in my early 20s, I was very young. There was no help online. These are days before influencers, before social media got massive. There was a blog I found written from a US-based couple who were probably in their 50s. I couldn't relate to those people. I didn't understand the language, the terminology. They didn't look like me. They didn't sound like me. And I thought, you know what? I have got such a story to tell, and I didn't want anybody else struggling like I did. And I thought there must be other young women out there who are curious about this. So that's how it started. And I just sat at my kitchen table, during COVID, and I just started writing, and I realized it felt so cathartic to get it out. And I was like, I loved it. I loved how candid I could be. And finally, I could just share all these things that had happened. Yeah, and that's how it started. And it's just like slowly grown from there, really.
Yeah. So COVID was the aha moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It was for a lot of people.
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
How has the UK community responded compared to what you see globally?
To be honest, the UK community don't realize how lucky they are, I believe,
Mm,
because we live on a tiny island. And if you want to drive somewhere, like maybe it's 2 or 3 hours is far for people here.
mhm.
And there are swinger clubs in most major towns. And
Wow.
for me, there's a pretty, major cities, you're going to find a swing club, you're going to find people. There's a lot going on, I believe, compared to other countries.
Yeah.
You don't have to get on a plane and fly to a different state. So I believe people have got it pretty good. And also, I think because people in the UK, we have a luxury where we can be pretty much whoever we want to be. We don't have as many religious constraints as what other countries do, as other communities do. So I believe we're on a pretty juicy position. We can be a 50-year-old man and go down the street in stockings and suspenders. I've seen this myself, in London at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you can do that around
And
Soho.
nobody cares. Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
You may get a few looks, but essentially it offers you the freedom. You may get politely reprimanded by a police officer, but essentially what I'm saying is you can be who you want to be. And
Yeah.
that is the beauty of I think living in the UK. But I think the sets of problems that people have, if you like, or the obstacles are so different.
Yeah.
But I have been pretty well received, I would say. But also there's like quite a big sudden emergence of polyamorous relationships in the media over here, in TV shows, in newspapers, in magazines. People are suddenly realizing that there's a whole load of people out there who are potentially their next door neighbors who are into this, who are living
Yeah.
alternatively. So it's not as taboo as it used to be.
Yeah, it's become mainstream, really, and I think
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
the pandemic lockdown had a lot to do with that. It seems like everybody was home, everybody was bored, and they were searching for new things online, and they started seeing things and went, "Oh, let's give this a shot." I think
Yeah,
a lot of the people that we talk to have they started during the pandemic or right
yeah.
after the pandemic,
Yeah.
which is interesting. Now, what I love about this is, we've talked to a lot of people in our state, in our country, but I have personally wondered about other countries and stereotypes, Rosie. Let's
Hmm.
talk stereotypes because
Hmm.
we deal with them here, and I'm just curious. You've written beautifully about the misconceptions around open relationships.
Mhm.
What are the biggest myths you still hear all the time?
That swinging is for middle class couples in suburbia, that swinging is something you do when you've been married for 20, 30 years and you're bored of each other, or swinging is something that I don't know whether you have it in the States, but like there's certain symbols people have, like pampas grass outside the house, or like upside down pineapples in
Uh,
windows,
yeah.
or certain like garden ornaments, or certain decorations, or drives a certain type of car, and people kind of associate it with like this almost like cigar smoking 1980s medallion. But they do, and I've heard people say, "Oh, that's something those types of people do." Like wife swapping keys in bowls.
Yeah,
Yes.
Leisure
They,
Suit Larry, kind of
yeah, yeah,
scuzzy, yeah.
yeah, and that's what people kind of associate with the word swinger, and it's hard for people to kind of like understand that you can be a swinger, but you can also be a mid-20s single professional who enjoys going to clubs, who enjoys meeting people, but it's also dating ethically non-monogamously and doing all the things. You don't have to fit into that mold. Yeah, so I would say that is the main kind of like stereotype, that it's for older, disgruntled, dissatisfied, middle class, but wealthy as well. And then also, I don't know whether you guys have touched on this, but like people associate it with old white people.
Yes.
It's been
Yeah,
it's been it's
definitely.
been mentioned before.
Yeah.
And it is, and that's usually where we actually found ourselves is when we were first starting. It was a lot of older, rich, white people. And now the culture has definitely changed from then to now.
It has, and we've even done episodes on how expensive the lifestyle can be.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And you really have to ask yourself if it's obviously you don't need money to enjoy non-monogamy and you don't need money to enjoy swinging, but it helps.
It does.
Yeah.
It definitely
Yeah. Yeah.
helps.
Now talking about that, do you think the culture and the media that they've shaped the narrative around polyamory and swinging because of all of this? Like, how we always stereotype it. Do you think like social media has helped that?
I think it's helping change views. I think now because with the rise of the influencer, although I don't class myself as an influencer. I probably am, but I never set out to be.
Yeah.
But
You're
there's certainly
totally an influencer, by the way.
there are polyamory influencers and different couples and people who I've met who have gone on to within the lifestyle. And I'm like, oh yeah, you do that. So they're kind of like changing the narrative and showing people that it's younger people, it's people with kids, it's people who have regular kind of 9 to 5 jobs who also do this. They're very happily married. And I think it's kind of like narrative is changing, especially with shows. There's been a show on Channel 4, Open House, Great Sex Experiment, which I have my own views on. But again, a lot of people from who were part of that were kind of 40 and under, which is still
Mm.
classed as young in
Mhm.
lifestyle. But I think, views are changing just slowly.
Yeah, for sure.
It's coming.
For it's
It's
coming.
coming.
It's happening.
Now,
Yeah, it's coming.
have you noticed differences between how men and women are judged for non-monogamy?
Absolutely. But also I think these days men don't you don't hear it as much anymore, like the single go-getter women, like how I have been the single sexually liberated go-getting woman who is say, she will do whatever she wants to do on her terms with whoever she wants to do it with. And I haven't faced as much negativity for that as maybe I would have done 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Maybe that's also because I removed myself from an environment where I would face negativity. If you
Mm.
surround yourself with people who are going to cheer you on in an environment which cheers you on, then you're probably not going to get it. But yeah, there is all people are always going to be negative about how single men and single women enjoy the lifestyle, not involved. One thing I see time and time again is single guys are, I think, unfairly stigmatized when they want to enjoy the lifestyle or, go to a swingers club and they get labeled straight away, or maybe they're going on a date with somebody and they share that they've been to a swingers club. They're immediately tarnished with this brush of being this like disgusting sex obsessed,
Yeah.
and that's not fair. So I think both sexes do experience it, but I think there's not as much. Well, I hope there's not as much negativity directed at single women anymore.
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
not.
yeah, we have a lot of single women friends and
I think they're more lusted after
they
than
think they're
anything
more
else.
lusted
Yeah,
after.
yeah,
And we try to whenever we go out with them, we try to keep them safe and whatever, but it is a stigma sometimes, I think, for both, especially the men, the single
yeah,
men. They do get pointed out sometimes.
yeah, definitely.
It's a
Yeah,
sad little world
it is
sometimes.
unfortunate. It is unfortunate. Now, you talk a lot about self-awareness and emotional honesty in your blog. What's
Mhm.
the biggest lesson that you've learned about yourself through this lifestyle?
I think it was having the ability or the capacity to give my consent without needing to be actively involved. This was huge for me because and this wasn't that long ago, it was only a few years ago. Up until that point, I'd always been in relationships where we would go to a swingers club together. We'd meet a woman together. We'd meet a guy together. Everything was done within the same room. And I was absolutely fine with that. I would do whatever with you, and I was very open-minded, whatever scenario. But then when my partner at the time turned around to me and said, look, yes, we're swingers. Yes, you're my dominant, but I also want to be in an open relationship where I go and meet with gay couples and other couples. And I knew there wasn't a role for me in that,
Mm.
you know, and it was really hard. And I was absolutely terrified. I felt like I'd gone back 10 years, back to where I was. And I was again that woman sat on the bed going, I don't know if I can allow this to happen. I don't know if I can give my consent. I don't know if this is right, and I was shit scared, I was terrified again. And I felt like a fraud. I felt like, yeah, but you're Rosie K, you teach people how to do this. You should know, you should be better, and I beat myself up about it for, a week or so. And I struggled. And then I came to him and I said, look, I'm really, really frightened of what could happen because I'm scared of losing you. I'm scared of not being good enough for you, of you finding something with these other people that I can't give you, but I love you. And I love the fact that we have this bizarre at times relationship because he was also like 20 years older than me. So it was a lot going on there. Yeah. But I loved it because it was so bizarre. And I loved that he could be himself around me. And he'd
Mhm.
come to me and gone, look, I really want to experience this. So I said, okay, we don't know till we try. So he went off because he was very bisexual. He went off to go and do his thing with his friends, etc. And for the first hour or so, I was absolutely terrified. I was like anxious. I was checking my phone. I couldn't relax. But then I kind of like got into it and I was like, oh, okay, he'll come home to me. All well. And when he came through the door, he was so ecstatic because he'd gone and had this experience that was completely separate to me, which was indulgent. And he'd come home and I was there to like support him and listen to it. And it didn't actually affect us at all. It just made us even stronger. And yeah, it was brilliant. And I was like, oh my God, how is this possible? But it was brilliant. And also, I realized that one of the main things, I'm going to be very blunt, one of the main things that he got from that, which I obviously don't have, is a cock. Like, so I can't
Yeah.
compete with that. That's a
Yeah.
physical thing that he wants. It's a physical act that they're not my competition.
Right.
Like,
Right.
that's separate to me. And even when he went to play with the couples, like the male female couples,
Mhm.
like, again, they've got their own thing going on. They're not in competition with me. I don't have to compete with them. Go and do your thing. And it was scary, but that was probably the biggest eye opener for me because I've then gone on to teach other couples how to do it,
Yeah, like
how you can, yeah,
how you can
and
navigate that through that
yeah,
like I mean, I call it jealousy, but it is just
mm,
it's maybe more than
It's more
jealousy.
just uncomfortable
Uncomfortable
feelings because
feelings.
sometimes you have to just find a way to navigate it.
Yeah.
I
mhm,
love the fact that he was excited to come tell you about it. That to me says that even though you weren't there, you were there. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
yeah,
he was
yeah,
very
yeah,
excited to come share it with you and those are experiences that we've talked about as well where, I'm not bisexual, but
Yeah.
me going off and doing my own thing and then coming back and being able to share it with her, I'm not hiding it. I'm not going, well, I
yeah,
don't want to talk about it with you. She's my best friend. So obviously
But
I would want to share that with her.
also like she said, like you said, you don't have a cock. You can't really share that, right? So the bisexuality for me, he doesn't
Yeah.
have a vagina. He can't
yeah,
Right.
thirst you
yeah,
down. And
yeah,
it's like go out and have that. Now, I don't always share the same compassion as he does for me as I do, like it's not always the same because
mhm,
I'm still trying to navigate through my
mhm,
insecurities and jealousy and stuff like that. But
mhm,
I do love that you write about that and you help others express that and kind of find their way.
mhm.
I did want to ask you, what's your advice for someone who's just kind of starting to explore non-monogamy, who's feeling that nervousness and unsure feelings and that uncomfortable feelings? Like what kind of advice could you give them?
I think the first bit of advice or the first point of call is remember that firstly, everybody you'll meet in a swing club, you'll meet at a social whatever, they've all been there. We all know what it's like. We all are shitting ourselves inside at some point,
Right?
We've all been absolutely terrified, but at the same time, deeply curious and really excited to get started, but at the same time, terrified. We all know what it's like. And sometimes when you are honest with people and you approach a couple and you say, look, I'm really excited to be here, but I'm absolutely terrified of this, whatever. I'm really frightened of what could happen. It just kind of like brings a groundedness to that interaction because they can relate to that. And you're saying, look, I'm actually quite vulnerable. I'm actually quite scared. This is what's going through my mind right now. Have you been there too? And guarantee 100% of the time they have been there too. And it's relatable. So that, opening up with that kind of conversation, but also understanding that, and I say this to women especially, time and time again, other women are not your competition. Insecurity and doubt and worry and fear, it stems from you. Your insecurities are what feeds it. And when you realize that, not just in ethical non-monogamy, but in life, once you realize that other women are not your competition, you will have a much better life experience. Never mind sexual experience. And also with men as well. I think it's different for men because how we perceive sexual encounters and encounters in swinging clubs is different, but especially with women, like stop viewing all these women as your competition or somebody who's going to swoop in and take your man. If you feel instantly less because another woman you believe is more just by her being there, the woman is not the problem. You are the problem.
Yes.
Rosie,
And that
Rosie, I love you. I just want to say that. I just want to get that out of the way right now. I love you.
That is very true. And it is something that a lot of women, and I say women because, I'm a woman. And so a lot of women, especially when we get to this age of hormonal change, right? I'm 47 and menopause has hit. I feel like the insecurities when you were a teenager hit even more. Like you kind of have this balance of back
and it doesn't help that at times the lifestyle feels like school,
Like high school.
like adolescence all over again.
Yes, absolutely.
I know when we first started, I had a hard time in high school. Like I wasn't great with the ladies, and so I missed out on a lot of opportunities, and there was a lot of things that I wanted to be able to enjoy that seemed like the stereotypical high school and early college adventure that I did not get to take part in. So when we started in the lifestyle, I had all sorts of insecurities because it was like, oh, well, they just want her because she's a beautiful woman and I'm getting sidestepped and nobody's interested in me and what's wrong with me. And, just all of these internal issues and insecurities that I had with myself from high school. And I remember discussing it with her and saying, I don't like this feeling and I need to figure it out. 2025, for those who are avid listeners of our podcast, they realize that 2025 is the year of Confident Adam. And so as of January 1st, 2025, I said, I'm going to be confident. I'm going to walk in there and just shake things up a little bit. And I will say, the whole fake it till you make it thing works because I faked it until I made it. And that doesn't apply to orgasms, by the way, but I faked it and I made it and I feel confident now. And I don't feel like I'm stuck in that adolescence. I really enjoyed that. And that kind of ties into where I'm going with this. I know it was hard to see that there was a light at the end of the tunnel there, but I told a beautiful story there.
You did.
I like your writing because it blends this education with a personal storytelling. I mean, even just talking to you now, you're a great storyteller. I love it.
Thank you.
Now, my question to you is, do you see yourself more as a writer, a teacher, or a guide? Or like all three? You know what I mean? Like, do you, I know it's hard for us to say, well, this is how I view myself without coming off as, elevated more than everybody else. None of us want to be like that. But if you had to place something on yourself.
Elevate yourself, girl. Elevate yourself.
That's right.
So a writer, teacher, or guide, what I would say is that as this surprises many people, as somebody who is naturally an introverted person, I'm very happy in my writing space because I can shut myself away and I can do it. And I feel like I can just pour out my heart and soul as I do onto the pages and it's authentic and it's me. But that's because I'm an introverted person and people don't always realize that because I'm also somebody who is a coach and a guide. And somebody once said to me, you're kind of like you are kind of a therapist, but you're more like a self-help kind of like cheering people on and getting them to see a different, like a self-improvement, which I kind of do as well, because a lot of what I teach people is has come through my own mistakes and not wanting to live a certain way anymore. Yeah, I mean, I am a mix of all three.
Mhm.
I'm also people's confidant as well, people, the couples open up and they talk to me, and single people, they talk to me about things that they've never shared, because I offer a non-judgmental space, because it's my job, to listen. And yeah, I'm a mixture of all three.
I love that.
Um,
I
and
love
I
that.
I love being all three,
Yeah.
it's brilliant. I love that I made my own, my own job title. I created this. I I love it, and I'm so proud of that. It's brilliant.
I
It's
love
neat because you
that.
kind of created your own community, but you touched on something that I'd like to go back to, in the fact that you're introverted. We talk to a lot of content creators and other, I guess you could say, coaches or counselors in
Mhm.
this field, and a lot of people who are in the forefront and usually being seen by an audience, including us, are introverted. I am majorly introverted at
I am
times.
not.
She's not. And that's where we balance. But I have said this over and over again, and people seem to not believe it, is that I am
Mhm.
introverted.
Mm.
And we kind of started a lot of this so that I could work on getting my way out of there and being able to socialize with people better. But I've noticed that a lot of people that we talk to are introverted.
Mhm.
Mm.
Now, with you being introverted, and with you being the face of this kind of
Mm.
girl, people are turning to you, I'm sure, en masse. How do you handle that? Like, how do you deal with it being an introverted person?
Going back to what you said about faking it till you make it, when I first started doing my swinger club reviews and traveling around the UK and going to swing clubs and writing about them, that was a brand new thing for me. I was doing it as a single woman. I was rocking up to places, towns, cities I've never been to before. I was absolutely terrified, but I
Wow.
knew that it was my brand that was on show. It was somebody who was saying, she's so fucking good at the lifestyle. I'm going to teach other people how to do this. So I had to fake it till I made it. I had to ooze confidence and charm and charisma and talk to everybody and show everybody the same amount of respect and attention and be gracious and be professional. And it was fucking hard. But I became so accustomed to it because that was my brand that was on show. And I learned that separate that when I was doing those things and when I'm coaching people, I'm a brand and I'm a product, and I'm not the deep down real me. I'm what I've created. And I find it easy to kind of separate the two, because the introverted
Yes.
version of me, the
Yes.
real version, is she's not everybody would be that interested in her. Like she ain't that exciting. Like she's exciting, but she also likes reading books about the paranormal. And I'm a cat mom.
Yeah.
Like it's not that exciting.
Yeah.
But the other version of me, is pretty bloody exciting. So that's how I kind of like. It's like almost like when I stepped into my shoes and I did my makeup in that way, I became Coach Rosie K, and I'm here and I will talk to you
Oh,
all, and it's so lovely to meet you. And I became so good at that, and I realized that I could turn it off and turn it on when I was in this role. And that's how I kind of like manage it, if you like. But yeah,
Yeah.
it does get overwhelming. And one thing this sounds sad and pathetic, but I'll share it anyway. Um, I remember I went up to Liverpool here in the UK, and I was doing like reviews of a swinger club over different nights, same club, but like different nights, different events. And so many people were interested. They wanted to talk to me and they wanted to hear my opinions. And I was like, had great nights talking to all these people, doing interviews, doing all this, content and all these wonderful things. Came back to my hotel and just absolutely burst into tears because nobody, and at that time I just felt like nobody was interested in me.
Mhm.
oh,
And I felt like such a pathetic mess. But I realized also the monster I'd created. And I realized at that point what it was like to be a brand and a personal brand. And I realized that maybe it's great, but it's not all it's cracked up to be. Because at that moment when I got back to the hotel and I looked at my real life and I looked at like all the bullshit dating that was going on and all the breadcrumbing stuff, and I was like,
Yeah.
it's not always a good. And I kind of like thought, and I had that reality check. So I've always kept grounded, and I've never allowed it to become. I've never bought into it. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
I've kind of like been, yeah, being Rosie K is great and she's amazing and she's sexy and she's all these things, but she's not all of me. She's
Yeah.
a part of me.
Yeah.
Now, does she ever make appearances in your personal relationships?
She has to.
She can do. She can do, but to be honest, my own relationship that I have now is with a guy who is, well, he's the more dominant partner, I would say,
Okay.
in
Yeah.
that role. So that's different again. But also he's somebody who I see he is an equal to me. And he like so he does follow my advice, but
Yeah.
also I listen to this is major for me. I listen to him and follow his advice, which I haven't
Yeah.
really done that much with men in the past.
That's
So like
love, baby.
that is a very different experience for me. So we're both equals and we've always viewed each other as equal contributors to this relationship, to this family thing we got going on. And it's so different, and yeah, I mean, she does make appearances, but also I think now I'm able to offer so much more insight about relationships and about this female self-improvement and not settling for less. So when younger
Yes.
members of my family come to me and go, I've experienced this, or friends have treated me like this, or I've been all this bullshit that we go through as teenagers, I'm like, right, okay, this is what you need to do. This is why this doesn't work. So I am able to kind of like share that insight and that guidance with people that I wouldn't have been able to do before. But I do keep the worlds very separate.
I love that. I love that. Now we're going to start digging into some society shame and empowerment. So, how do you see shame showing up in on conversations around sexuality, especially for women?
I I think I think bisexual women and how we are viewed is will bisexual women will always be viewed as hot property, or it's
Mm-hmm.
cool to be bisexual, or it's sexy to be bisexual. And I think very often, or should I say more often now, women are able to express their sexuality more without fear of shame so
Mm-hmm.
much.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes within certain circles you can't always share or you don't feel comfortable sharing, but I think there's not as much stigma attached to it. I mean, I don't know what it's like where you guys are based, but here we have female only parties, female only socials where women can simply get together who are all bisexual or gay and have a good time, or meet people who are like-minded. So there's not as much as there probably used to be, and there's certainly safe spaces for them. Yeah, I
You just
think.
gave me a brilliant idea. I love that. First of all, I'm going to have to go visit you. So sorry, honey.
Well, no,
That's
a trip like that is not going to be a female only
Oh,
trip. I'll come too. You can hang out.
amazing. Yeah. No, bisexuality here is probably
It's a hot commodity out
it's a
here.
hot commodity.
Bisexual women, especially single bisexual women,
Yeah.
are considered a commodity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we've done a whole show on it, and to date, it's one of our more popular shows about the quote unquote unicorn in the
Yeah.
lifestyle. But what I find is talking to a lot of single women in the lifestyles, they don't care for that term for one
Yeah.
thing. They
Mm.
don't care for the being put on a pedestal and feeling like they're
Mm.
a hot commodity. But also where we're at in Texas, where we used to be at previously in South Texas, a lot of the lifestyle was very man-led,
Yes.
Mm.
in a very almost a misogynistic kind of way. And
Mhm.
these were a lot of newer people or people with toxic traits who didn't really do their research about the lifestyle. They just knew they wanted to have sex with other people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so and I'm sure that exists everywhere,
Yeah.
but it was very prevalent where we were at.
Mhm.
And so being able to be where we're at now
Yeah.
and seeing a lot of the women empowerment and my wife is a very big advocate for women empowerment, and she tries to help other women find their voice and find their no and be able to do all of that. But we forget that this is really geographical at times.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I find that so interesting. I'm pretty sure that now that you've put this little nugget of information in her head, she's going to be doing an all-female social or
Thing.
that sort of thing. It should be
Yeah.
interesting. I'll spend a lot of nights at home alone.
But also, I think they're popular in the UK also, again, going back to what I said, because you can be whoever you want to be here in the UK. We don't have as much the religious constraints. People aren't overly religious over here. And so it's not as much as a taboo subject. So I think also women have that freedom. But also I think, and this is interesting, I believe that if you're in a relationship like I am now, if you're in a relationship with a man, it's almost like bisexuality, female bisexuality isn't viewed as a threat. It's like almost like, oh well, she's bisexual. She'd never leave me for a woman.
Yes.
Like if my partner wasn't all he was cracked up to be, like I would. Like it doesn't take me much. Like it's rare for me to be in a long-term relationship with a man because I'm not a massive fan of men. And I do believe that for a lot of men out there, they like, oh, she's just bisexual. It's just women having a bit of fun.
Rosie,
Is
you're
it?
a UK version of me. I love it. I'm the same way. Yeah, I'm exactly what you said. I've said it 1,000
Have you met
times.
women?
I know. Right? It's
Well, there are some men who get insecure about it
My
when they
first
find out
husband.
that their
Yeah.
wives or spouses or partners are bisexual.
Yeah, my first two last relationships were very insecure about
Yeah.
that. Like I could not even bring that up because it was
Yeah.
like, nope. And
I celebrate it. You know,
yeah.
when I found out, she came out to me when we first started dating.
Mm-hmm.
And I really said, I would love for us to experience this, not only for myself, obviously, that was a good portion of it, but also so that she could experience and have her enjoyment. And then when we became poly, that was really where I told her, I was like, you've never had a relationship with a woman. You should really be able to explore that.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think out here, obviously there is a lot of stigma because of the religious aspect of it here in the States, and it seems to be pretty prevalent. So there's a lot of judgment out here and a lot of people who live in fear of being openly themselves.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But with that being said, what can we all do as creators, as podcasters, and community members? What can we do to make the conversation around sexuality and relationships more compassionate and inclusive?
I think we can try and move away from a lot of people talk to me about judgment and talk to me about shame and say, oh, well, what will people think? And well, what will my family think? Or what will society think? Or what if people from my church find out? Or, what? Ultimately, you are the one who's leading your own life and you are in control of what happens on that journey. You're in control of, who you meet and you're the only one who is steering the ship, essentially. And I often find that that's like their biggest hang up for so many people is what will other people think of me? And it kind of pains me because for me, I've always been my my motto is do what you want in life, not what's expected of you. And that has been my motto for like forever. And I've led my life that way. And I just think that as content creators, we need to show people that we are doing that. And I believe that I do. And I think if we truly believe that we are the only ones who are in charge, if we want to go to an all-woman social, we should fucking go to an all-woman social. If we want to set up something, if we want to try out having a relationship with a woman, why not? Go and do it. Because if you're in a place where your relationship is strong enough and you yourself are strong enough to see that bigger picture and go, you know what, I'm going to do this for the greater good.
For the greater good.
For the greater good. Like, I need this, babe. I need this. Go out and enjoy it because you only get one chance. And much the same as like having different experiences with different types of people, or even just going and talking to different types of people. When you talk about inclusivity and things like that, I think one of the biggest eye-openers I had was I did a speed dating event where I was giving a talk at a speed dating event. And at the speed dating event, it was for ENM people, but there were like people there who were like wheelchair users and non-binary people and people who I myself would never talk to because they simply didn't fit in my social circle. But in that environment, I realized there were so many people out there who I could talk to who would broaden my perspectives. I learned so much about the world of less able-bodied dating just from having those conversations, or just by, speaking to non-binary people and the hurdles that they face. And I think, yeah, just does that make sense? Like just go
Yes.
and explore and yeah.
I love
In
that.
other words, get out of your head.
Get out of your
Yeah,
head.
get out of your head. Stop worrying about what other people think. If
Live
you know
life.
what, if you want to go along and chat away to people and learn more about their experiences, why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Now, Rosie, we're going to have a little fun with this right here as we're starting to come to a wrap. I want you to answer this with as little thinking as possible because I know as writers, we tend to really dig into the back for a really good response. I want whatever's in the forefront, okay?
Okay.
What is your favorite thing about being non-monogamous?
Being bi, like getting to just sex with women.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually my favorite part about being non-monogamous is the sex with women. So we have a lot in common. I love that.
I had it in my head. I was like, women.
And really, I mean, we can all agree. I mean, the lifestyle is really women centric. If you
Yeah.
take the women out of it,
Yeah.
there's really
No
you
fun.
Well, I mean, it depends on who you are, but I mean, a lot of it is women centric, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of women need to realize if they haven't already that they kind of rule the roost on this.
I've tried
you
telling
know?
women that, but
Yeah.
we haven't ruled the world yet. We're getting there though. We're getting
Yeah.
there. Okay, now I don't know. I mean, this question may be easy, but one UK lifestyle misconception you'd love to clear up.
That you can't just walk into any swingers club and just like pay a certain amount of money and that guarantees you sex. You can't just
Oh,
go and say, you
gotcha.
know what, I've paid £100, £150, therefore that entitles me, because this is something which I see time and time again, especially with single guys and sometimes with couples as well. I've paid £150. Why am I not getting anywhere?
That's globally.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
globally. So
but
yeah.
but I see that, like all the time, and it seems to be whatever club as well, whether it's a really exclusive members club or a, more pay casual pay on the door type thing, that mentality, expectant mentality
Yeah.
is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with people who have money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just I've known a lot of people
Yeah.
who have really, really great vast amount of money, and a lot of them have that mentality that they can just buy whatever they want
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and buy
Yeah.
whoever they want, and
Mhm.
it's like
Yeah.
it don't work that way. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Now, if you had to describe this kind of girl in 3 words, what would they be?
Sexy. Oh, I don't know. I'm a
That's
sexy.
okay. You can take your time with this one.
That's a good question. This is very much like when I say to people, what do you write in your dating profile, or what, tell me what
Yeah.
you like, and they don't know. I think 3 words to describe me is probably excitable, adult, or like adult in nature,
Yeah.
and I don't know. What's the word for kind of like
I would say
somebody wants to describe me as a shepherdess, like guiding my sheep, like
I
a
was gonna say,
shepherdess of the
yeah,
lifestyle.
very educational. Yeah.
Yeah, educational, because I do see myself as that,
You're a
like,
guide.
but not motherly.
There you go.
Like,
Very
yeah,
cool.
so maybe like shepherdess.
I
That's
love
not the
that.
right word. I don't know 3 words. Oh, it's very difficult, isn't it?
Rosie, you're a writer.
Just over.
I'm just gonna point that out. You're a writer. You got to know these words.
I know you have. I know. I know.
I'm sorry.
I
I'm
mean,
just
if
giving you a hard time.
describe you, just meeting you, I would be confident, sexy, and I know bold. I would say bold. Bold and
Yes,
confidence.
you'd
I
say
know they kind of go together.
Yeah,
Those
bold
yeah,
is
no,
I like
that's
bold.
probably right.
If I had to come up, I would use bold,
yeah.
knowledgeable,
Yes.
and experienced.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, true,
Yeah.
true. Unapologetic is a good one. I am pretty
Unapologetic.
unapologetic, bold. I don't want to say confrontational because that's more of me on a personal level, but I will fight for the underdog. I will fight for the woman who's been wronged. I will fight for the people who I
Passionate.
feel are not. Yeah, definitely passionate. See,
Passionate.
this is
Wow.
so much better.
Look at that. You and Pris actually have a lot in common.
I know.
That's why it was easy for me to come up with words, because I'm like, I'm describing my wife over here. Yeah.
Oh, Rosie, this has been such a beautiful conversation. Thank you for joining us and bringing such a heart and honesty to the lifestyle. Like, I love that.
Absolutely. Now, you can find Rosie's work and writing at thiskindofgirl.co.uk, and we'll have that in our show notes, as well as anything else you can find.
Yeah.
All Rosie K, This Kind of Girl, will be in our show notes. You can find it there. Seriously, go check it out. Her articles are raw, relatable, and full of that spark that reminds us why we all do this.
Yes. And if you love today's conversation, don't forget to check out all of our past episodes at beyond-monogamy.com. You can also stream us every Thursday at 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. Central on fullswapradio.com.
Oh man, that was smooth. We're on all the socials too. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, formerly Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube. And we have our Discord community as well. So be sure and check that out.
Yes. So make sure you like, subscribe, and leave us a review. It helps these conversations keep growing and going.
Yeah. Yeah. Rosie, thank you again for hanging out with us today and for reminding everyone that being this kind of girl means being bold, open, and unapologetically yourself.
Oh,
that is
thank you.
incredible.
Thank you.
It's a reminder for all of us. And with that, thank you all for listening, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye.